All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today in the first ever history-making episode of the Handsome Bucks podcast. I am Jesus Cano, being accompanied by Hugo Calderon. Hugo, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Jesus. How about you, man?
I'm pretty good, man. Excited to get this stuff started. It's something that we'd had in mind for a while, so it's good to be able to finally do this.
Yeah, we've actually been meaning to do this for a while now, but we basically just wanted to get our shit together, and it's like we're going to start kicking off the series.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll get more into, the details about the podcast later on at the end. But as always, thank you for giving us your time because, we really want to do this to be able to inform everybody, about sports that are going on, because essentially that's what this whole podcast is going to be talking about: sports at at the local level, at the professional level, at Los Merones College, where we are both the sports editors at the LMC Experience. So very excited to get this going, man.
Yep, it's gonna be us, completely uncut, completely our opinion. Let's see how it goes. All right, let's get it started.
Yeah, man. First of all, you came back from Mexico, dude. How was that like?
Man, it was really good. Last time I went was 4 years ago. It was pretty nice. Got to see a lot of family because obviously we can't come over here, so I gotta go over there. But yeah, man, Mexico has a lot of beautiful part. Honestly, the thing I'm gonna miss most is everything's hella cheap out there for me, at least.
Yeah, and I think a huge shout out that Hugo has to be giving us how real of a Manchester United fan you are, because you got to SFO, I think, out of time, like around 11 at night.
Yep.
Got home maybe around like 1, knocked out, and next day you went to the Manchester United game, which I was there too. That was the first time I was actually able to be reunited with you. How we got to see your team play, man. What did you think about?
Honestly, I didn't expect too much of the game. My blog might say otherwise because I did predict a 3-0 victory, but I didn't expect too much. I did expect it to provide a lot more excitement than it actually did.
Yeah.
Of course, it did end in a 0-0 draw, but I liked that a lot of youth players showed out. They really showed off, trying to prove themselves in this preseason, trying to get more minutes in. But overall, it was a decent game for both teams.
Yeah, and I don't watch pro soccer. Ironically, I don't watch pro soccer as much. But I was really impressed with that guy with the long hair for Manchester United. He was some sort of academy player, right?
Yeah, Tabitha Chong. I believe he plays in the U18s. Yeah, he's been really standing out in that team, and I'm really glad he got a chance in this preseason. Manchester United is known for their academy, not in recent years, but before they've been really known for their academy, for their youth players coming out. Obviously, Marcus Rashford coming out as he did from a youth academy player, coming in, playing the Europa League, scoring 2 goals, playing again against Arsenal, scoring another 2 goals. Fresh off the academy, and yep, it was a good game.
It's interesting to see how impressive Europe's academies are. Not just Manchester United, but you have the Barcelona academy. Messi was part of that, if I'm correct, right?
Yep.
You have all over Chelsea. I know not too fond to hear that name, but there's places like Chelsea, Arsenal, Real Madrid, Atletico, Borussia Dortmund, just naming the popular teams I know. But there's obviously plenty more, and it really just shows how great their farm system is compared to what we have here in the United States. They probably get paid out there to play, don't they? In the academy,
I believe that they do get compensated, at least for their troubles. At least they do get a lot. I believe they get a lot more support than they do here, academy players wise, at least. Like for here, I know that if, for example, our local team, the San Jose Earthquakes, if you're a part of the academy team here, you would have to make your own time to travel. You have to make your own time to go to the practices, to the games. You don't get compensated for any of that. I mean, although you do get to represent the team and you do get a big chance to potentially step up into the first team or to the reserve team. But I do believe, like you said, Europe does have a lot better farming process. They do put more importance on soccer, at least over there, a lot. That's their main sport. Unlike over here, we have football, baseball, which are 2 most popular sports over here.
Yeah, no, and I can definitely attest to what you're saying in regards to the academy, because I played, a lot of people actually might not even notice, but when I was playing at Impact Soccer Club, my coach Rick Morin, one of the guys that got me into club soccer playing over at Impact, he knew the goalkeeper coach Henry Falk, the Earthquakes Academy goalkeeper coach, because they coached together at Cal. And I know a couple of players that Henry Falk actually coached, and so he was able to give me a couple of practices. And with the Earthquakes Academy, they played at the Mustang Soccer Complex over there in Danville. So it's certainly the drive, especially when you're, at the time I was like 15, 16. I was probably like 14, 15. I didn't know how to drive, so they have to rely on my mom on shitty 2000 Expedition, Ford MPG with the 1211 below the single digit gas mileage. So there is a lot to go into play, and most of the times, even when I was playing club soccer here, most of the times you were guaranteed playing time, even if it was 15 minutes. When you're doing stuff with in academies, you aren't guaranteed anything. You're at least getting the training, which I saw, but most of the times you aren't getting anything, which is, I think, a big reason why I didn't continue to pursue it. I didn't have enough dedication to do that stuff, so, just stick to the regular club soccer. But I also think that might take into effect why, the World Cup that just happened, United States not even making it to the World Cup, I don't think that the youth players aren't as fully developed as they are in other countries, right?
Yeah, but that's why I think when Christian Pulisic, when he first left and he went to Borussia Dortmund in Germany, I think he made the right move. Dortmund are known for their young players coming out. I think him being there really improved his play style. And I don't know, I think if he would have stayed here in the U.S. and probably gone with the MLS team, he would not be at the level he is now. Yesterday he scored 2 goals and assisted once against Liverpool, playing in the friendly, and I think that he's really going to be the best U.S. player, at least in this generation.
Even you think he could reach higher potentials than Landon Donovan and Clint Dempsey?
I think he could, yeah, because at the level he's playing now, he's probably going to surpass both of them, especially playing at the Bundesliga, which is one of the top 5 European leagues that there are. Also, another youth prospect that youth has is Timothy Weah, son of George Weah, I've got to see a little bit of him, but just mostly the name that he's carrying, named Weah, obviously from his father George Weah, who was an American striker. He was very well known, and that's back when soccer wasn't even that prominent in the U.S. at the time, But he really changed a lot of heads, and we'll see what the future of the U.S. holds.
I think, in sports, that also carries a little bit of a, when you have the last name, or you're known as the son of a very good player, I think that carries a lot of weight on your shoulders, because you're expected to have, the same amount of potential, or, play at the level that they once had. Like, imagine if LeBron James Jr. isn't as good as LeBron James, but if he's a subpar player, below it. I always think about when you come into sports like that, you technically, most of the time, you have the entire, not world at your hands, but the entire amount of skills with having, a parent that played at the professional level and did very well. So do you think that would affect them carrying so much weight on their shoulders?
I think every player reacts differently, Last names do carry a huge impact on some players. Mentally, it even holds some players back, Other players, it really helps them develop because you have this parent who was a professional soccer player, a professional athlete, and, they can easily connect you with a coach, a team, whatever any resource you need, they will, be able to get it. As opposed to if you're just a regular kid from, a regular family, they would hold a much bigger advantage than you. But I do believe that, like you said, last names do hold a disadvantage. You can have a disadvantage having a last name. There's been several athletes, in fact, that have had that happen to them. But we'll see how the future carries on. Mostly, I think that's just more of a mental aspect that they have to jump over.
And, you're talking about the youth in soccer. Christian Pulisic and this new play that you just referenced. Do you think if the United States could keep on, essentially right now what they're doing with Pulisic is they're using not necessarily other teams' resources, because Pulisic did play, obviously, club soccer here in the United States. But do you think at some point it's going to be more of a trend that, maybe American players head overseas to go develop crafting their own, and then coming back to the States and contributing at the club, at the international level?
Oh, definitely, man. You know, you see this a lot in the Mexican League, especially. That's every single player's dream to go to get a European move. You seen it was Memo Ochoa when he had his 24. He was 2014 World Cup. That's when he had his standout year.
Yeah.
He was already playing in Europe at the time. He was in France, but that World Cup really highlighted how Mexican players are stepping up their level. A lot of Mexican players now, most of that starting 11 in the World Cup did play in Europe's top leagues. And as you see, usually once they start getting older, they do return home to their Mexican league, to the Mexican Premier League. But yeah, I think that for the international level, that's really good because, let's face it, over there in Europe, that's where soccer is more prominent. That's where everyone gets all the attention, the support from the fans. You know, you're not going to get the same level over here. So that's why I believe, like I said, you know, Chicharito, Javier Hernandez, he went over there. He went to Manchester United in Europe. He went to played in Madrid, played in Germany. Now he plays back in England, was West Ham. So, yeah.
I mean, you know, obviously, I completely agree with you what you're talking about with the World Cup. The World Cup, you know, brought excitement. It just ended. We saw France get crowned. I also like to see the World Cup as, you know, not just a stage for everybody to come together and watch soccer, but it's essentially the platform for players, you know, like Memo Ochoa, like James Rodriguez, that in the past weren't that known, and all of a sudden, you know, catapult into popularity because of the amount of level that they're doing it. We're hearing, you know, if these rumors are true about Chucky Lozano, about a lot of European clubs, you know, having a lot of interest in it. You know, I heard Barcelona. I don't know if that's true or not. Maybe not so much, but still, you know, getting that call up, you know, it's certainly going to be a very, very, very big upgrade from playing, you know, Mexican soccer into the European League. And you know, that was just off of one goal that he still scored in the World Cup. You know, when you have like James Rodriguez, like the example I always go to, I think he's an above average player. He certainly is talented. He just stepped up to the plate when he needed to. When it came to the international play, when Colombia made the World Cup, I think that was their first time in a very long time that they made the World Cup too, right? In 2014.
Yes,
right?
In 2014.
In 2014 it was and that was when James sprung on. And, you know, everybody's getting this attention. You know, he eventually got, you know, he was playing for Monaco at the time, and then he ended up getting signed by Real Madrid. I don't know what he's done ever since, because obviously I don't follow soccer that much as I used to before, but during those first 2 years he wasn't doing much, man, on Real Madrid. He was just there. But it just shows how well one performance in the World Cup could sort of elevate, you know. A lot of people on that France team are going to get a lot of more notoriety, especially, you know, the players that aren't as well known but contributed as much. They're probably going to get that big money doing a little. And I find it funny because, I mean, the other day, I'm not going to name this person that said this because it was, but I think, you know, everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but some opinions are just ridiculously stupid, man. So it went like this. We were just talking about, you know, the World Cup. We were actually talking about the Manchester United Earthquakes game. And I casually asked if he thought Pogba was going to come, right? And he responded, no, he doesn't need to. Why would he need to come to the World Cup if he's already the best player in the world? And I said, well, that's a really bold statement, obviously, to say, you know, best player in the world. That's with the, you know, names such as Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, Gareth Bale. Those are names that are up there, but you don't necessarily come with Pogba when it comes to best player in the world. So I asked him what was his reasoning, and he said, because he won a World Cup. Because he won a World Cup, and I just, you know, it's just some of those cringeworthy moments that, you know, it was just like, what in the world? So I continued with a series of follow-up questions. I asked him. So, hypothetically, and this is the exact same question I asked him. If Chris Wondolowski were to win the World Cup tomorrow, which I know obviously isn't going to happen, because it's not even tomorrow. It's all hypothetical, right? He wins it. Messi never wins one in his entire career. Does that mean that Chris Wondolowski, probably one of the best MLS players of all time, and will never match up to anybody in the European leagues, is better than Lionel Messi? And he said yes.
Yeah, man, I think that's straight stupidity.
It's just like,
because, for example, Giroud, who's France's main striker throughout the whole tournament, he got subbed off in the final, and he ended the final with 1 goal to his name. So, considering that, does that make him the best striker in the world?
According to this person, yes. according to this person too, that the France's backup goalkeeper is the second best goalkeeper in the world.
Who would be the first?
Whoever started, I don't know who it is.
Wow.
That's what he said. That's the exact same logic. So right now, there's 24? Is there 24 players on a World Cup roster?
21.
21, right? So I don't know how you want to rank it, but just know that 21 of those players in that guy's book, all those France players are the top 21 players. And I don't know if it goes Croatia, then whoever won third place, I think it was Belgium, then England, who didn't, couldn't make it home. I guess it's them, and I don't know how you want to label it out, but that's the person's logic. It's just absolutely
My question is, Harry Kane won the Golden Boot, which is what you get when you score the most goals in the tournament. He scored 6 goals, so that made him the top goal scorer. Is he worse than Giroud, who was France's starting striker, who only got 1 goal in the tournament, but he won the tournament? That is my...
In this person's case, he's worse than everybody on France, Croatia, and
Belgium.
who won third place? Belgium.
Wow,
it's
man.
mind-boggling. But
Well,
you know more about soccer. Who do you think is the best soccer player in the world?
well, this is a hard question. I personally, every time that someone asks that question, it's always a Messi-Ronaldo debate. And obviously, Ronaldo left Real Madrid. He went to Juventus in Italy. And a big move that, honestly, I didn't think was true at first, because every single summer, he's linked with a different team. He's linked with a different club. Like, he's going to go back to United. He's going to go to PSG. He's going to go here. He's going to go there. And honestly, I think I've been siding with Ronaldo mostly because the way I look at Messi and Ronaldo is Messi has more of a natural gift. Every time you see him on the ball, he's so natural, and he doesn't need that much training.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when it comes to certain situations like that, I really... it's really hard to judge about whether or not something is going to happen on that level. I remember me growing up when I was watching soccer. This was like in 2008. It was, Ronaldinho. And obviously, times past, that was close to 10 years ago. I think, 10 years ago. Oh, I feel old. Times have shifted. Probably in a couple of years there's going to be somebody else that's going to make their name, and then they're going to leave a mark and stuff like that.
Well, I think that person's already here. Mbappe at 19 years old, man.
Really?
For France.
He's top of the top 21 elite team in the world.
Yeah, man. So at 19 years old, already making his name known. I think he really has a bright future for him.
Yeah, and it just shows how the developmental of youth players in other countries, come into play.
Yeah, man, and on the topic of youth sports, we'll go ahead and talk about our own league, the BVL. And Jesus, what do you think about the upcoming football season that's on the horizon, only a couple weeks away?
Yeah, it's 3 weeks away, starting on the Friday recording. We're recording this on Monday, so 3 weeks away. I am extremely excited for this to happen. It's usually for my coverage, I usually end at high school soccer in February. Then it's just patiently waiting to get through those grueling spring months and into summer just to get into high school football season. So I'm very excited. The Bay Valley Athletic League, without a doubt, the past 5 years, it's been arguably the toughest league in the entire Bay Area. So does that mean there's always going to be big matchups up ahead? You have Pittsburgh, that's been the dominant team throughout the past 6 or 7 years. They've been dominant, but a lot of teams that came out the cuts in this case. I remember Deer Valley my freshman year. This was, I believe, Susie Webster and Simba Webster's senior year. They were at the top at the table with Pittsburgh, handing back and forth. Then you saw a sudden decrease in talent, and what I mean by that is they haven't won a single Bay Valley Athletic League game since the arrival of Coach Robert Hubbard. And that's not necessarily, it's just, sometimes it's just hard to do. When you're playing on a tough league, I don't think that's necessarily a shame, because it's a very, very tough league to play in. Deer Valley could easily win the DAL league because they're a really talented set of players. It's just that they unfortunately, carry against a very tough team. And you see what other teams too. I mean, for the past 2 seasons, Heritage has gone 5-0 in league, and when it comes to league, they get smacked, go 1-4. The only team they can beat is Deer Valley. And again, that's not necessarily a bad thing because you are playing with people like Freedom. That's always consistent. Liberty, that's all of a sudden sprung up out of nowhere. Just a really good set of talented players. And obviously Pittsburgh and Antioch, who has essentially gone from, a bottom tier team, because prior to the arrival of Najee Harris in 2013, they were a 5th to 6th team. And then they just sprung up like crazy. And it wasn't just one player, obviously. They just had a tremendously, surge of talent. Obviously Najee Harris, but you also have players like Kobe Beltran during that time. Ryan Payne, who is, doing a lot of stuff over at DVC. And then as late, you have players like Willem Carnthong, DeJuan Butler, Omari Harris have just been putting in work for Antioch. Obviously, a couple of those players already graduated, but it just shows that the amount of talent that they're going through. So, this season's obviously a lot of different. This is probably the first year that players, not players I didn't go to school with, but all these players were never, not necessarily played on varsity while I was in high school, which was when I was watching high school football. So for me, it's gonna be more of a, I have to catch it on the fly because it's a lot of players that I don't know, but it's something that I really have to learn about more.
Yeah, man. Like you said, there's a lot of big names that recently came out of the BVL. As you mentioned, Najee Harris, Ryan Payne. So who do you think, compared to last season, is gonna stand out this season?
This season, it's really hard to name just one player. I'll go one by each team. For Pittsburgh, it has to be Jacob Bandis. I mean, for the past couple of years, he's been putting in work. Yeah, he's just one of the best defensive linemen I've ever seen. He's certainly going to be a Division I player. He's already cut down his teams, but that's going to make an impact this year. That's probably not well known as much. I'm excited to see the return of Trey Turner for Pittsburgh. Unfortunately, went down with a ACL injury during the scrimmage against De La Salle. Missed out the entire football season and his baseball season. So I know he's eager to get back into the game. And I actually wrote a feature about it. That's on prep2prep.com, which I think everybody should go check out to read a little bit more about his story without me going into it. For Antioch, another guy I think is going to have to be is Willem Carnthong. Willem Carnthong, he's easily a guy that could rush for 1,000, throw for 1,000. And when you have that, it just makes your offense more powerful. Another guy for Antioch that I think that's going to do well is DeJuan Butler. He's been really springing up as a recruit at the defensive back position, so he should do well. For Deer Valley, I think Deer Valley has to have the most underrated player in the entire Bay Valley Athletic League, and I think that's Josh Scott. Last year you had to fill in at quarterback for D.R. Walker that was having some troubles going on, and he took over the rest of the season, but he's easily a guy that could play 100 different positions, even though there's only so little in football, but that's the type of player that he is, that he can go up and over. I think that's going to be... He's been a player. He's been getting all league honors ever since his sophomore year. He's gone second team, first team. So, yeah, I'm very hoping that he'll have a great season. For Freedom, Giles Jackson. Giles Jackson's it's crazy to think because I've been following him on Twitter since his freshman year, when I first started doing this, and then all of a sudden, this guy's a big name that went from wide receiver to running back. He's just been putting in work. So. Giles Jackson's the obvious pick right there. For Liberty, I think it has to be Sione Vaki. He's also a player that's been getting a fair amount of offers as of late. He plays wide receiver and all. He's also a guy that can play multiple positions. But last year they had Zane and Ahosa. He graduated. He was they were sort of a great duo at wideouts. I think now. Vaki's going to get a lot more of the receptions and stuff like that. It's only going to make him more dangerous. That's, if he decides to play for Liberty. For Heritage, I don't know. Because it's just scary to think. I don't know anybody I can't name a single returning player from Heritage. In the past years I've been able to. And I'm not sure that certainly says something about the program or reflects its, what's going to happen in the upcoming season. But I know in the past I think that they played a weak schedule, but I saw their schedule this year and it's gone a lot. I think it's an upgrade as compared to last year.
Yeah, man. So we're close to running out of time here. we'll just go ahead and close off the podcast. So, so what are the future plans for the podcast?
Oh, man, obviously we said, with you and me, I was doing a previous podcast. With the advantage that you and me have is that we share the same office at LMC. So that's probably the biggest advantage that we have. And with that meaning is that we get to record almost on a weekly basis. It means that we get an episode on a weekly basis. So that's one of the plans that we hopefully get, especially into the school year when we meet up on a regular pattern. It's also to get video up because right now we aren't as prepared. We don't have the adequate setting and stuff like that. So once we get back to school to August 27th, unfortunately. When we go back to school and start covering and we get our office back, that's probably going to be the epicenter for all the podcasts and stuff like that. It's crazy, dude, how we met doing all this stuff, and it's just where we're at right now. It's just pretty cool.
Yeah, man, we've really evolved a lot from starting from the Deer Valley versus Enion game.
Yeah, I remember that when I first laid my eyes upon you, it was love at first sight.
No homo. But so, man, moving on to you. We've been talking about a lot of athletes, a lot of teams. What about you? What are your future plans?
Oh, dude, shit. Let's talk about like it's crazy, dude. Because I remember 3 years ago when I first started. Right, actually, my first article got published a couple of weeks ago for the first time 3 years ago. So it's a whirlwind, but obviously the grind stays the same. It's to only get better. It's to be the best, obviously. I want to expand it to a lot more publications in other regions of the Bay Area. Is this my last year at LMC? That's the big question for me. And if that's the case, it's probably going to be my last year covering high school sports, unfortunately, which is something that's been near and dear to my heart. But I got to go to the league. I gotta move up. I gotta commit somewhere, and I gotta the goal is to obviously cover professional sports. So it's going to be a stepping stone to something else, man. So I'm hoping to. I just have 3 goals in mind right now. That's to reach out to another publication, hopefully get LMC by the end of the year, and write my first prediction piece, which I'm going to keep a secret right now what it will be, but it will regard a certain sport in the VVAL. What about you, Chief?
Yeah, man, well, first off, I just want to say that you didn't mention high school sports. That's where you started off. I think that's where almost every single sports journalist started off, if I'm right.
Yeah.
And high school sports, local sports, they don't just give local players an opportunity to show themselves. They give journalists, photographers, an opportunity to showcase what they got, because you can't go and then go to the Raiders Stadium. You can't go to Oracle Arena and just walk up to the players and start to interview them or take pictures of them from the field.
Yeah.
You have to start off from your local team, get connected with your coach, any team. And personally, that's how I started. When I first knew I wanted to start doing journalism, covering sports, I started in my junior year. Fortunately, I lagged it, and I didn't officially start until my senior year. It turned out to be my senior project. I covered all the games for the Antioch High School team, and from there I went to prep, and now here I am with Jesus. We're both sports editors at LMC, and for me, I made some mistakes. I fucked up a bit, so I am going to be at LMC for a little bit longer. And
but that only means that LMC sports are going to be blessed with some really good coverage, as opposed to past seasons where a lot of fresh faces come in, but aren't blessed to have the coverage that we have. But having you for another year, that's probably something great for them too.
Yeah, man. Also, another thing I'm developing on is my YouTube channel. I've been lagging on that too. My uploads been in between a couple months between each upload, so I really want to start fixing that. My aim ultimately is to upload at least once every week, or at the latest once every 2 weeks. Start growing that so I can get more recognition, so I can start putting in work. But yeah, ultimately, once I do finish LMC, more than likely my final destination is going to be Sacramento State. Hornets up, Stingers up.
Stingers up.
Stingers up.
Stingers up. Yeah, that's what we have ahead. Yeah, definitely, man. It's good to be with you, man. Have a whole season ahead of us, right? And a whole new podcast, a whole new adventure. So, hopefully over time we'll be able to see us develop more as talkers. We won't stutter as much. We won't say as much or stuff like that. So, it's very exciting to see.
Yep, and then if you guys, oh shit, I just said it. If you guys do have any questions, any more topics, anything else you would like us to talk about, just go ahead and put it down in the comments. This is going to go on YouTube. I am going to try to put it on the Apple podcast for all of you Apple users out there.
Real ones?
All the real ones.
Not on that Android stuff?
We don't fuck with Androids around here.
Except my work phone?
Y'all using Game Boys. But, yeah, and we're also SoundCloud.
Yeah.
Is it gonna
SoundCloud is where we're gonna upload it on.
Oh, I never knew I was gonna be able to share my SoundCloud, but yep. All right then.
So absolutely, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. We'd love to hear your feedback. Questions. As always, send us questions. It could be anonymously, or public replying to one of our comments, or whatever it is that you would like to do. We would be more than happy to answer them here today on the podcast. So thank you so much for joining us today. We hope to see you for the next set of the podcast. Signing out, this is Jesus Cano.
It's Hugo Calderon.
And see you later.